Namaskar, dosto. Welcome to our military history channel. Today, we have brought 2010 question papers along with their answers, a treasure trove for all aspirants. Now, not everyone appearing for the exam will have access to these papers. That's where you stand apart. What makes the difference? Those extra marks. And how do you get them? By understanding the relevance to operational art. While showing the questions on the video, I won't speak. This is your time to carefully read the questions and answers. Pause the video, take your time, and understand how each answer is structured. Then, as I explain the relevance to operational art, make sure to pay attention and take notes. But wait, some questions have been purposefully left without their operational art relevance. Why? Because we want you to think, analyze the answers, find the connection, and drop your insights in the comments. Let's see who can crack it. So, don't just memorize, engage, analyze, and apply. That's what will set you apart. All the best. Let's start with question number 1. Alright, dosto. Hope you've understood the questions along with their answers. Now, let's dive into their relevance to operational art. Point 1. Chapter 1, Napoleon and the Dawn of Operational Warfare. Deception as a force multiplier. Operation Kipper's use of false signals, staged mule requisitions, and feints mirrors Napoleon's diversionary tactics, like at Austerlitz, 1805. Similarly, the multi-pronged assault, 2 halves Punjab from the west, 3, Para, Maratha from the north, reflects Napoleon's corps-based envelopment strategy, applying pressure from multiple directions. Point 2. Chapter 2, Prussian-German Operational Art, 1742-1943. Tactical Fire and Maneuver. Operation Kipper's artillery-directed airstrikes resemble Blitzkrieg's air-ground coordination, Poland 1939. Forward observation officers, FOs, ensured rapid fire adjustments, just like German artillery tactics 1942-41. Reserves and counter-attack doctrine. The 2x2 Punjab's failure to position reserves hindered momentum, contrasting with Germany's Schwerpunkt principle, where reserves sustained the offensive, example, Manstein's 1942 counteroffensive. Point 3. Chapter 3, Operational Art and Britain, 1909-2009. Indirect Approach. Operation Kipper's deception at Jhungar is a classic example of the British World War II indirect approach, similar to Operation Bertram, El Alamein 1942, which misled the enemy with fake troop movements. Artillery as an enabler. Precision artillery in Operation Kipper neutralized machine guns and disrupted counterattacks, just like British World War I and World War to sustain barrages, which weakened enemy defenses before an infantry advance. Let's move ahead to question number 2, which states, with regards to the Tithwal offensive launched by the Indian forces in May 1948, discuss the salient aspects of appreciation carried out by Commander 163 Brigade and his final plan for the offensive. Also discuss the reasons for rapid success in Tithwal sector. Dosto, hope you've understood the question and answer. Now, let's jump straight into its relevance with operational art. Point 1. American Operational Art, 1917-2008. Disrupting enemy communications. Exploiting enemy anxiety over rear area threats in Tithwal mirrors the Gulf War, 1991, strategy, where targeting logistics crippled Iraqi resistance before they could mount an effective defense. Rapid offensive exploitation. The swift Indian advance at Tithwal is similar to the US breakout in France, 1944, where rapid maneuver shattered enemy cohesion before their defenses could solidify. Point 2. Operational Art and Britain, 1909 to 2009. Meticulous planning and execution. Tithwal's detailed pre-attack planning reflects the British Burma campaign, 1944-45, where supply lines, deception, and multi-axis assaults were key to outmaneuvering the enemy. High-altitude combat. The capture of Nastachun Pass, 10,000 feet, required logistical precision, much like British operations in Afghanistan, 19th century and 2001, where rugged terrain dictated operational tempo. Point 3. The Tsarist and Soviet Operational Art, 1853 to 1991, and Tithwal. Layered offensives. Tithwal's three-phase attack, Dogarpur, Chokibal, Nastachun Pass, mirrors Soviet deep battle doctrine, where sequential offensives created conditions for successive breakthroughs, WWII. Logistics and terrain challenges. The enemy's reliance on extended supply lines in rugged terrain at Tithwal is similar to German struggles on the Eastern Front, 1941-42, where Soviets disrupted logistics to weaken resistance. Dosto, this is how operational art plays a crucial role in military strategy. Understanding these connections will give you an edge in your exams. Now let's move to question 3, which states, what was Brigadier Usman's plan to capture Sapskot and AMG Hill, and what were the reasons for failure of these attacks? Dosto, read the question and its answer carefully. Try to break it down into points. Pause the video and take your time to understand how the answer is structured. Analyze it step by step. Once you're done, think critically and try to relate it to operational art. Alright, now that you've understood the question and answer, let's analyze it through the lens of operational art. Chapter 1. Napoleon and the Dawn of Operational Warfare. Failure to secure the enemy's flanks. Unlike Napoleon's envelopment at Ulm, 1805, the Sapskot plan underestimated enemy reserves, leading to a costly frontal assault against well-fortified positions. Loss of surprise. Napoleon's victories relied on speed and deception. However, Sapskot's daylight attack forfeited this advantage, unlike Austerlitz, 1805, where feints lured the enemy into exposing their weaknesses. Chapter 2. Prussian-German Operational Art, 1742-1943. Misjudged enemy strength and poor coordination. Similar to Stalingrad, 1942-43, Indian forces underestimated enemy strength. World War I German stormtrooper tactics, probing weaknesses before assault, were ignored at AMG Hill. Failure to break defenses. Strong enemy mutual support blocked breakthroughs, much like Kursk, 1943, where German forces struggled against Soviet defensive belts. Chapter 3. The Tsarist and Soviet Operational Art, 1853 to 1991, and Tithwal. Lack of multi-phase offensive depth. Unlike Berlin, 1945, where lead assaults overwhelmed defenses, Sapskot lacked proper artillery sequencing, allowing fresh enemy reserves to counterattack. Failure to suppress enemy defenses. Operation Bagration, 1944, used massed artillery to neutralize defensive positions before infantry advanced. In contrast, Sapskot's artillery was diverted to reinforcements, leaving enemy bunkers intact. Dosto, this is why understanding operational art is crucial. Small mistakes change the course of battle. Learn from history, apply it wisely. Now moving on to question 4, which states with the capture of Rajauri in April 1948, Indian forces were posed to link up with Poonch. Discuss Operation Gulab, conducted for the first link up with Poonch, giving the plan for link up, forces available and a brief analysis of the overall operation. Dosto, as usual, read the question carefully and try to answer it in point form. Pause the video, analyze, and break it down step by step. Once you're done, relate it to operational art, understand why strategies succeeded or failed, and how historical lessons apply here. If you found this useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep learning together. Alright, Dosto. Now that you've gone through the question and answer, let's analyze its relevance through operational art. Chapter 1. Prussian-German Operational Art, 1742-1943. Failure to hold ground. Just like Germany's advance into Russia, 1941, Operation Gulab moved fast but failed to secure its gains, forcing a reoffensive in November 1948, similar to Stalingrad, 1942, where initial advances collapsed due to poor consolidation. Lack of tactical flexibility. Unlike Germany's mission command of Tactic, which emphasized adaptability, OP Gulab lacked the flexibility to counter enemy reoccupation after initial success. Chapter 2. The Tsarist and Soviet Operational Art, 1853 to 1991. Failure to exploit success. Unlike Soviet deep battle doctrine, which used second echelon forces to reinforce breakthroughs, OP Gulab lacked follow-up forces, allowing the enemy to regain lost territory. Single-phase offensive weakness. The Soviets used layered offensives, example, Berlin 1945, to prevent enemy counterattacks. In contrast, OP Gulab's single-phase attack left gaps, allowing the enemy to regroup. Chapter 3. Operational Art and Britain, 1909 to 2009. Failure to hold key terrain. Similar to British setbacks in Afghanistan, 19th century, Operation Gulab lost Mender and Thana Mandi due to weak garrisons and poor defensive planning. Logistical constraints. Heavy reliance on animal transport and porters, much like the Burma campaign, 1943, slowed momentum and hampered operational effectiveness. Dosto, this is why securing gains and maintaining operational flexibility is key. Learn from history, apply the lessons, and win the battle before it begins. Now let's move to next question. That is question 5. List the major factors which saved Srinagar from the onslaught of the raiders in October 1947. Dosto, there are 2 questions on the screen. For question 5, we will discuss its relevance to operational art in detail. For the next question, I request you all to try it yourself and answer it in the comments section. If you face any issues or doubts, let us know in the comments, and we'll try to post the relevance for you. Let's make this an interactive learning experience. Pause the video and go through the answers deliberately. Try to relate each answer with the relevance of operational art. Remember, the relevance shown here is just a sample. There are many other lessons you might identify. If you find additional insights, drop them in the comment section. Let's learn together. Alright, Dosto. Now that you've gone through the question and answer, let's analyze the relevance of operational art for question 5. Chapter 1. American Operational Art, 1917 to 2008. Trading space for time. Similar to the Battle of the Bulge, 1944, the defenders of Srinagar slowed the enemy's advance through limited but effective resistance, buying time for reinforcements. Resilience under fire. Despite facing pressure, Srinagar's defenders adapted and held their ground unlike Operation Gulab, which lacked the flexibility to counter enemy reoccupation. Chapter 2. The Rise and Fall of Israeli Operational Art, 1948 to 2008. Defensive stands as a tactical necessity. Much like Jerusalem in 1948, Budgam's defenders held out against superior enemy forces until reinforcements could arrive, proving that well-organized defense can turn the tide. Exploiting enemy weaknesses. The enemy's looting delays at Budgam was similar to IDF psychological warfare in 1967, where sowing confusion and disrupting momentum weakened enemy resolve. Chapter 3. The Chinese Way of War. Failure to hold key terrain. Similar to Chinese defenses in Korea, 1950-53, delays at Muzaffarabad, Uri, Baramulla, Patan, and Budgam disrupted enemy momentum and prevented rapid breakthroughs, forcing strategic missteps. The raiders' failure to exploit early gains mirrors Chinese tactics, which often lured enemies into logistical and tactical errors, forcing them into unfavorable engagements. Dosto, operational art teaches us that defense, deception, and exploiting enemy weaknesses are just as important as offense. Now that we've analyzed the relevance of operational art for question 5, it's your turn. Go through question 6 carefully. Try to extract its relevance to operational art, look for historical parallels, tactical insights, and strategic lessons. Drop your answers in the comments section. If you face any difficulties, let us know, and we'll post the relevance for you. Moving on to question 7. Discuss the Indian operations to capture Rajauri in April 1948 under the following heads. Disposition of Pakistani forces in General Area Rajauri. Indian forces tasked for capture of Rajauri. Outline plan for capture of Rajauri. Diversionary operations planned by Indian Army. Pakistani reactions to the loss of Rajauri. Dosto, go through the question and answer carefully. Pause the video and take your time to understand the details. Analyze the strategies, tactics, and key decisions made during the capture of Rajauri in April 1948. Once done, we will discuss its relevance through operational art. Dosto, pause the video and make sure you've fully understood the question and answer. Now, let's analyze the capture of Rajauri, April 1948, through the lens of operational art. Chapter 1. Napoleon and the Dawn of Operational Warfare. Flanking to disrupt enemy balance. Just like Austerlitz, 1805, the tripartite attack. 2 Rajputana rifles, right. 5 Jat, left. 4 Dogra, center, divided enemy forces and struck from multiple directions, forcing them to react in an uncoordinated manner, forcing tactical mistakes. 50 Para Brigade and 80 Infantry Brigade used diversionary tactics, stretching Pakistani defenses, similar to Napoleon's use of feints before decisive battles. Chapter 2. Prussian-German Operational Art, 1742-1943. Multi-axis maneuver warfare. Like the Ardennes Offensive, 1940, flanking attacks forced the enemy into a disadvantageous position, ultimately leading to their collapse. Infantry armor synchronization and deception. The Central India Horse, armor, plus 4 Dogra coordination mirrors Blitzkrieg's panzer infantry tactics. Diversions at Khinratta and Beripatan Eco Operation Barbarossa, 1941, pulling enemy forces away from the main objective. Chapter 3. The Tsarist and Soviet Operational Art, 1853 to 1991. Layered attacks for strategic depth. Like Kursk, 1943, multi-wave offensives ensured sustained pressure. First wave, 2 Rajputana rifles, 5 Jat, 4 Dogra. Second wave, 1 Kumon, Central India Horse, armor, forcing costly counterattacks. The Pakistani counterattacks on 16th April 1948 mirror Operation Bagration, 1944, where prepared defenses absorbed pressure before striking back and causing heavy enemy losses. Dosto, These historical lessons show that flanking, deception, and multi-wave offensives are key to operational success. Now, we have two questions on the screen, question 8 and question 9. Pause the video and read both questions and answers carefully. Understand the technique of answering, how the response is structured, key points covered, and the logical flow. We will now discuss the relevance of operational art for question 8. For question 9, I request all our viewers to analyze it themselves and drop their answers in the comment section. Our team will go through your responses and guide you if needed. Let's make this interactive and engaging. Now, let's analyze question 8 through the lens of operational art. Chapter 1. The Tsarist and Soviet Operational Art 1853 to 1991. Phased expansion from firm bases. Just like Operation Bagration 1944, JK Force ensured control of key locations, Jhangar, Leh, Kargil, before expanding towards Rajauri and Domal. Lesson: secure strongholds first before advancing further. Force reallocation based on tactical necessity. Strategic flexibility, deciding whether to reinforce Poonch or Skardu, mirrors Soviet adaptability in 1942, where reserves were shifted between Moscow and Stalingrad based on battlefield conditions. Lesson: keep reserves flexible and react to enemy movements. Chapter 2. Operational Art and Britain 1909 to 2009. Garrisoning critical outposts. Like the Northwest Frontier Campaigns, 19th century, JK Force secured key positions, Naushera, Uri, Baramulla, Akhnur, to control vital routes and supply lines. Lesson: holding key terrain denies enemy movement and ensures supply security. Insurgency and civilian security. Protecting the Jammu-Pakistan border and reclaiming villages is similar to British counterinsurgency in Malia, 1948-60, where securing civilian areas was essential to defeating insurgents. Lesson: civilian control is just as important as military dominance in contested zones. Chapter 3. American Operational Art 1917 to 2008. Airborne reinforcement of Poonch and Skardu. Airlifting battalions mirrors U.S. airborne deployments in Korea, 1950, to reinforce isolated garrisons. Lesson: air power is key for rapid reinforcement in contested areas. Securing key strategic objectives in sequence. The phased brigade buildup in Kashmir Valley reflects U.S. strategies in Afghanistan, 2001 to 21, where securing strongholds one by one expanded control. Lesson: expand in a structured manner, securing each area before pushing forward. Dosto, these historical lessons show that phased offensives, strategic flexibility, and securing key terrain are crucial in military operations. For question 9, try finding its relevance yourself and post it in the comments. Our team will guide you. Pause the video and take a moment to understand how these historical lessons connect with Operation Birbal. These parallels help us see how past strategies influenced military planning and execution. Dosto, let us understand this part through the lens of operational art. We'll break down this military strategy in simple terms using the lens of operational art. Step 1. Attack in layers. Inspired by Soviet warfare. Two-stage assault. First, secure the high ground, then advance into Thana Mandi. This is exactly like the Soviet deep battle strategy during Kursk, 1943, where they used layered attacks to keep the enemy under pressure. Why secure the high ground first? Because if you control the higher terrain, you control the battlefield. The Soviets did the same in World War II, attack in layers to keep momentum going and not let the enemy recover. Step 2. Protect the flank. Prevent enemy counterattacks. Left flank security. The Bravo Company to by 2 Punjab was positioned to guard the left flank. Why? Because if the flank is weak, the enemy can hit from the sides and disrupt the attack. Soviet strategy at work. This is exactly what the Soviets did in Operation Bagration, 1944, where they secured flanks and stopped enemy counterattacks, ensuring their army could keep advancing without interruptions. Dosto, if you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Friends, now we move on to question 12. Just like we analyzed the previous questions through the lens of operational art, we will now break down question 12 in the same way. First, carefully read the question and answer. Pause the video, understand it properly, and then we will discuss its operational relevance. Question 12 states, the capture of Jojila by Indian forces was a typically rare operation. Discuss the following. A. What was the attack plan for Operation Bison carried out in November 1948? B. What were the problems envisaged in employment of armor and what measures were adopted to overcome them? C. Enumerate the reasons for the success in capture of Jojila during Operation Bison. Alright, let's break this down through the lens of operational art in simple terms. American Operational Art, 1917 to 2008. Using tanks in tough terrain. Just like the US adapted Sherman tanks for jungle warfare in the Pacific, India modified tanks for high-altitude battles in Operation Bison. Deception to confuse the enemy. The Suru Valley find tricked the enemy, just like how the US misled German forces in Normandy, 1944, before D-Day. Israeli Operational Art, 1948 to 2008. Tanks in the mountains? Yes, India's tank charge at Jojila is similar to Israel's breakthrough in the Golan Heights, 1967, proving that armor can work even in extreme terrain. Air and artillery support for tanks. Like Israel's 1973 Sinai airstrikes, India used air power and artillery to support its ground forces. Chinese way of war. Defensive terrain to block attacks. Pakistan's strong defenses at Mukund, Chabutra, and MMG Ridge worked just like China's Korea War, 1950-53 tactics, where they used river slopes to block firepower. Surprise attack is equal to game changer. India's unexpected tank push at Jojila was like China's surprise counterattack at the Yalu River, 1950. Both misled the enemy and turned the tide of battle. Dosto, history repeats itself in different forms, and operational art helps us learn from the past. Now dosto, let's move ahead to next question. Question 13. Give the broad outline plan for Operation Gulmarg launched by Pakistan in October 1947. Also, list out the circumstances which favored the launch of the above operation. Let's tackle this question step by step. Step 1. Read and analyze the question. First, understand what the question is asking, the key points, the events, and the military strategy involved. Step 2. Pause and study the answer. Take your time to go through the answer carefully. Try to connect it to historical military strategies and tactics. Step 3. Play and learn the relevance through operational art. Now, let's analyze the operation using historical references. By doing this, we can decode the strategy behind the operation and compare it with similar military campaigns in history. So, dosto, pause the video, think deeply, and then play to continue. Alright, dosto, let's break this down in a simple and engaging way. Understanding the relevance through operational art. Prussian, German operational art, 1740–1943. Decisive strike on key infrastructure. Just like Germany in Operation Mercury, 1941, took over airfields to dominate the battlefield. Pakistan aimed for Srinagar airport to ensure uninterrupted operations. Shock and psychological warfare. The fast-moving Lashkar attack created confusion, similar to Germany's Blitzkrieg in France, 1940, where speed and surprise overwhelmed the enemy before they could react. Tsarist and Soviet operational art, 1853–1991. Layered offensives for tactical depth. Pakistan attacked from multiple directions: Gulmarg, Handwara, Sopore, Rajauri. This forced Indian defenders to spread thin, just like Soviet deep battle doctrine, where multiple waves of attack exhausted the enemy. Hybrid warfare using irregular forces. Lashkars plus Pakistan Army. This is classic Soviet-Afghan War, 1979–89 style, where local militias fought first, softening enemy defenses before the main army moved in. British operational art, 1909–2009. Exploiting internal divisions. Just like the British used tribal alliances in Afghan wars to weaken enemies, Pakistan tried to exploit J&K troops' mixed loyalties to gain an advantage. Failure to anticipate enemy moves. India's intelligence failure is equal to British mistakes in Malya, 1941, where they underestimated Japanese moves and got caught off guard. Friends, let's move on to the next question. Just like we broke down the previous questions through the lens of operational art, I want you to give this one a shot. Dosto, now it's your turn. We've broken down multiple questions through the lens of operational art, and now I want you to take charge. Here's what you need to do. Go through the remaining questions carefully. Try to analyze their relevance with operational art. Drop your answers in the comments section with the question number. Our team is here to help. If you have any doubts, just ask in the comments and we'll guide you through it. Let's make this an interactive learning experience. And yes, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more valuable content. Clap aboard. Alright dosto, let's get started. Dosto, thank you for joining us in this session. We truly appreciate your time and effort in understanding operational art and its relevance. Now, it's your turn. Go through the questions and answers once again, try to relate them to operational art, and drop your thoughts in the comments section. Let's make this an engaging and insightful discussion. We'll be going through your comments and providing feedback, so keep them coming. Stay tuned for more such sessions, and as always, like, share and subscribe. Jai Hind.